Let's recognize different parts of it. Ken, thanks so much for being here.
Great being here, Danny.
Always great to have you,
Thanks.
Ken.
I want to dedicate this segment to Marsha P. Johnson. She was one of the transgender warriors at Stonewall. Very important to our history.
What is Stonewall?
Stonewall, good question. Stonewall, 1969, it was the rebellion that sparked the modern gay human rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I owe her a debt of gratitude. I might not be so open about myself if not for her and other incredibly brave people.
Mm-hmm. Well, while we're defining things, I want to first start with two terms that sometimes get confused and we're not sure: sex and gender. And what
so that's great.
Mean.
Sex is anatomy. Sex is chromosomes. It's reproductive organs. It's physically what our body looks like. Gender is very different. Gender is who we feel ourselves to be, who we know we are as a spirit, let's say. And that can be a lot of things. It can be male, it can be female, it can be somewhere on what's now called the transgender spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ken, I'm sure I can't control this. There are probably people watching who are saying, that's ridiculous. It's whatever science says. What does that even mean? How you identify? And I want you to talk to that and to kind of explain what this means and what some people just don't understand.
Sure. Well, first of all, I want to say that there is nothing new about human beings. We have been the way we are for all of our 200,000 years of existence. So there's nothing new. What there are ways of being human that have been stigmatized, that have been oppressed, and this is one of them. So all through history, there have been people who don't fit into the rigid boundaries of male and female. And those people historically have been acknowledged, accepted, or scorned and put down. So, for example, there are many native cultures in which it was common to accept that there were some people who were not male, not female, somewhere else on that spectrum. And today, Native American culture, for the most part, has called those people two-spirit people. There are cultures within Southeast Asia where it's been long acknowledged that there are people who, once again, do not fit male, do not fit female, are somewhere else. And hijra is another word for those people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, since when has the human brain been simple enough to categorize
That's exactly it. And even when we talk about sex, there are people who are born with mixed anatomy. And those people today are increasingly identifying themselves as intersex. That's the word that many of those people will use to describe their identity. It used to be that when a child was born and the doctor looked at them and said, I don't know whether this is a male or a female child, they would surgically make that child female. And the reason they would do that is that it's easier to do. And then that child grows up and they are who they are, and they may feel like they fit that identity or they may not. And if they don't, then they're in for a challenge of redefining themselves. And I want to say something else, and that is that all of this throughout history has changed. Styles and fashions have changed. So you think about, for example, the Louis XIV period, and we might look at him, the paintings of him, and we might say the hair, the garb looks really female. And in our place here, during the colonial period, men wore wigs. And again, very flowing garments. And I want to just read something. This is from the Ladies' Home Journal in June of 1918. And here's what it said. The generally accepted rule is pink for boys and blue for girls. The reason is that pink, being a more decided and stronger color, is more suitable for the boy, while blue, which is more delicate and dainty, is prettier for the girl. So these things change.
That's 100 years ago exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And also, one other point to consider is that human beings have been changing their bodies to suit their identities for a very long time. So think nose jobs, breast implants, liposuction.
Commercials make us do that. Things you see on
I
billboards
think that's,
make us try to fit something.
Absolutely, we can argue that, absolutely. But it also is something that people do because it makes them feel more the way they feel like they ought to be. And I want to just make one more distinction, and that is between gender identity and sexual orientation, because there's often a lot of confusion about that. So gender identity is who we feel we are. So who am I when it comes to a character style? Male, female, am I non-binary? Am I a masculine woman? Am I a feminine man? Those are some of the identity terms that are used. Sexual orientation is who I'm drawn to when it comes to feeling like I'm going to love somebody. They're going to be somebody who I'm going to form an intimate relationship with. So gender identity is who I am. Sexual orientation is who I love. And
at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, is spreading love and allowing people to be themselves.
And allowing and accepting human beings. Why can't, any way that we have of expressing our humanity, why isn't every way beautiful? Every way that we can possibly be a human being that doesn't hurt other people. When are we going to get there? And the final thing I want to say is there's been talk of late of transgender people assaulting others in public restrooms. There is zero evidence for that. It never happens. On the contrary, transgender people are continuously assaulted in the public world. So we need to look at the facts. We need to look at the reality and just let us be who we are.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully we can all find a way to accept each other in many different spectrums and all Earth. So Ken, thanks so much for being here.
Great being here. Thanks very much, Danny.
Thank you.